Coach Clay here. Getting hit by a pitch is never fun. When kids make the transition to kid pitch, the fear of getting hit by a pitch can make hitters that were once having a ton of success have zero. And that is because when you are worried first and foremost about getting hit with a pitch, you will not hit. So when a player is worried about getting hit, you're going to see them in their stance right here, and you're going to see them on their heels a lot. And that first movement, ever so slight back to be ready to jump out of the way or get out of the way. And hitting is secondary, right? So even if they are able to make contact, it's going to be on our heels. A lot of butt out swings, a lot of swings that have no energy or power at impact. If you ask a player if they're nervous about getting hit or scared about getting hit, the answer you hope to hear is no. If a player says they aren't scared of getting hit or aren't nervous about getting hit at all, that's a good sign, because you can tell they are, but they understand that they shouldn't be. And there's some shame behind that fear, and there's some shame behind that anxiety. And I feel like over my years of working with players, the players that have been able to sort of flip that switch and get rid of that fear and get to hitting as quick or as quicker than most other people trying to overcome that situation, the ones that have that shame about being less tough or being scared are the ones that are able to flip the switch the best. I flash back and use my own experience as an 11-year-old player when I got hit with a fastball in the back of the neck. And it did not feel good. It was one of the better pitchers in the league that threw very hard and was effectively wild. My body and my mind remembered that trauma. And for weeks, I was doing nothing but tapping balls to the pitcher and second baseman, because I was making sure, first and foremost, that I was not going to be hit. And then I just used my hands in coordination when I saw a pitch to try to put a ball in play. So how did I overcome that? Well, it was my father who mentioned that I wasn't swinging very hard, and that I wasn't staying in the box as close to the plate as I used to. He didn't directly call me out for being scared, but all but told me he knew that I was scared. So once it became obvious to someone else that I was scared, I knew that I had a decision to make. People were going to either see me as a scared ball player, fearful, and I would do nothing but get soft hits, or I was going to have to overcome that fear, be okay with the risk of getting hit if I was ever going to get hits again. And I realized when people and other players got hit and ran to first base, there was a lot of admiration and respect for those players at 11 years old, especially getting hit with some of the faster pitchers in the league. I relay that story from my youth to players that I know are suffering some fear and anxiety of getting hit. And I give them the bottom line and the reality of the situation, which is, do you want to be a player who everybody at the ballpark sees is scared and never get any good hits? Or do you want to be a player that gets a ton of good hits, everybody sees as a really good ball player, and sometimes you will take a real painful shot, but everybody in the ballpark will think you're tough? Me, as an 11-year-old, I gave myself those two realities. Everybody sees me as scared, I get no good hits. Everybody sees me as tough, I get a lot of good hits. I preferred and chose the second one. Moving forward through the next 20 years, middle school, high school, college, pro, There were times where I had to battle those demons, worried about getting hit, my body just instinctively wanting to bail out on a curveball or a slider when a guy had a good fastball. I had to go back to those two realities numerous occasions to remind myself what kind of player I wanted to be, and really if I wanted to play this game and succeed at it. Because the fear and anxiety were going to prevent me from having success, and were going to prevent me from playing at higher levels. The shame approach, the two realities, the choice will work with some players. And you just give them those two realities a couple of times and see if they choose to jump on that second reality. See if you can get them just in the mental space that they are going to be tough than to get out of the way of that pitch. There are some players that are going to come to you, and when you ask them, are you scared of getting hit? They may admit to having a little bit of fear. Now, maybe that's just an honest kid, okay? But admitting to having a little bit of fear, we can still use that approach of giving them the two realities, and hopefully it works. But a kid that freely admits that they're scared and that they're nervous, that's going to be a tougher cookie to crack. But the one thing you can do, regardless of the player and regardless of their headspace on getting hit, is you can build muscle memory with their swing and with their approach that allows them to get hit in the safest way possible. When we're in our ready position, we should be nice and balanced, sitting on our stool, keeping that front elbow, looking like a check mark across that body with that front side down and in. The pitcher is going to be able to see a little bit of the back of our jersey, right? But we're not turning and showing them the whole jersey when we start. When we load and step and get in our hitting position, some people turn a little bit more than others. But again, we're pretty much square, right? Sideways to the pitcher with a little bit of front side in, right? Front elbow, front shoulder down, okay? That front shoulder, that front elbow is going to be lower than that back shoulder, back elbow if we're in a good hitting position. If the ball comes at us, we want to learn to just turn our back and the meat of our leg and our lats towards that pitch. And that will provide the safest place for us to get hit. Now, I have a helmet on, so as I turn that back, I can just put my chin and turn it away, and I'm pretty protected, okay? But I want to get to where there is no movement back or away from the plate. All my movement is down and in, and when a ball comes at me, I just turn and get hit. Now, how many reps do I need before a ball comes at me and I turn? Quite a few. And we can't do that with a hard ball, or we're just going to, bruise the heck out of our players, not going to produce the result we want. So when you're practicing taking that pitch, I would suggest using a tennis ball.
I get a bucket of tennis balls and stand behind the L screen about 15 feet out in front of my players and just alternate throwing them at the back and having them turn and take it. And then maybe every third pitch, just at random, throwing strikes so they can hit. And you're trying to get them to keep that front side down, but when they see a strike, be able to pull the trigger aggressively. And the combination of not knowing if it's coming and not knowing if it's swinging makes them, as athletes, adjust and stay front side closed as long as possible.
Now, another good thing to do is once you've developed that muscle memory, you can put a few softies into your ball bucket when you're throwing live batting practice to your players.
The balls I keep in the BP bucket are just softies, rag balls. They look enough like the real balls I'm throwing that I can just pull one of those balls out and, hit the player anytime with them not expecting it. And what I like to see is no fear, just standing solid, turn that back, and take that pitch right in the backside.
Whether you're in league ball or whether you're in a travel or tournament environment, there's one thing that I think works really well, and that is stressing and celebrating fair contact and hit by pitch. So I will often give league players and tournament players a checklist for when they start kid pitch. And I want them to complete this checklist as fast as possible. The first thing on the checklist is hit a fair ball off the kid pitching. The second thing on the checklist is getting hit by the pitch. The third thing on the checklist is hitting a fair ball and reaching base. Those are the three things that we should start out with. Now, you might have a player that does all three things in game one. Great. Get hit a second time, so it's sort of like Yahtzee, right? Every time you get hit, you get points, right, on your checklist. So you can get hit 5 times and still keep getting points, right? Celebrate those hit by pitches. Stress that we want to get hits and we want to get hit by the pitch. Walks should not be celebrated at all. We don't want to give the kids any sense of satisfaction for just standing up there and watching the pitch go by. We want to make sure we celebrate those hit by pitches and fair contact, and we want to build that muscle memory so that when balls do come in, that we turn reactively to take that pitch in the back of our bodies.
If you like this video, punch that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully we'll see you down the road.